distinctly Christian eye, one that takes the movies seriously on their own terms, while also filtering what's on the screen through a faithful lens. Suddenly, Fast and Furious 6 also registers as a high-octane Pentecost movie. This isn't exactly what C.S. Lewis meant when he wrote about being surprised by joy. His description of his conversion as an unexpected, unlikely delight. But I think the notion still applies. Joy, I might add, is a key quality of Abby's writing. She has an infectious enthusiasm for popular culture that, when wedded with her abiding faith, results in that rarest of things, Christian arts criticism, that can stand alongside any commentary in mainstream spaces, while also offering a perspective that is humbly rooted in the good news of the gospel. Abby passionately writes to two worlds, that of the pop culture fanatic and the devout Christian, because she sees the areas of overlap between them as a gift. In the process, she's enriched my understanding of the church calendar. When I think of Christmas, I think of the Advent wreath at the front of my church, as well as the Advent-themed devotionals we read as a family at dinner time. Now, thanks to Abby, I also think of The Last Jedi, a Star Wars installment particularly attuned to what it means to cling on to hope, even in the darkness. Similarly, if Easter has come to include things like colored eggs and costumed bunnies, surely we can also make room for an annual viewing of a lovely little animated movie like The Iron Giant, about a gargantuan robot who chooses relational love over unilateral power, conquering death in the process. That's the sort of good news we can't be reminded of enough, whether we're sitting attentively in pews or comfortably on our couch. Introduction. Why watch films as a spiritual practice? Stories rule our lives. We use narrative to make sense of where we come from, the kinds of people we want to be, and the relationships and experiences that have brought us to this point. When we make plans, we tell a story about what we think will happen. When we lie down at night and think back on what we did that day, we tell a story based on our memories. Stories stoke our curiosity, help us make sense of the world, and help us understand ourselves and others. Our lives are also ruled by routines and rhythms, whether it's a schedule we plan ourselves or the natural rhythms of sleep, work, play, social engagement, or worship that dictate our week. At least in the Western world, that rhythm is a strange, potent mix of the religious and the secular. Each week contains days for work and days for rest, based on the creation of the world in Genesis and the existence of the Sabbath. We observe the changing of the seasons with holidays and events that pull from natural patterns as well as biblical tradition. If we think of our life as a story, seasons are how we mark the chapters. Each one contains distinct themes, whether it's spring, summer, fall, and winter, or the seasons of infancy, childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and old age. In the life of the church, those chapters are marked by the liturgical calendar, the annual cycle that takes us on a narrative journey through the Bible. As with any good story, we get to know a set of characters and follow them as they learn, grow, encounter joys and sorrows, die, and, in the case of Jesus, resurrect. We're also constantly thinking about the ways this long story, made up of many stories, applies to the lives we lead now. The writer Dorothy Sayers recognized the inherent drama of this process in her 1938 essay, The Greatest Drama Ever Staged, in which she wrote of the role of storytelling in church tradition. The Christian faith is the most exciting drama that ever staggered the imagination of man, and the dogma is the drama. The Bible tells an incredible story that weaves individual accounts of prophets, believers, disciples, the Son of God.